Hello, you fucks. Welcome to John Solo's Beard Brigade. I'm John Solo, and hey, I'm here. Look at that. The internet's working. We're all good to go. Hello. Feels like it's been forever. 'Cause it's been a week since we've done this. So, a couple updates here of what we're up to, and then we're going to get to our guest, which I can't wait. Um, First off, last week we had a flurry of just weird shit. First off, last Monday, we had an issue not only with our internet, but also with my Jeep, the beloved dock, which was just a whole thing. And I got into a repair, given the internet and what it was. I wasn't really sure how I was going to work anyways. And then I got stuck, not stuck. I got to be honest, I like working on dock, but I was in the middle of a repair that I couldn't really stop. So we did not do the show last Monday. And then tech issues galore, which were just a whole lovely deal. So we really didn't do any videos last week. I also wasn't able to do Rambling Gremlin. So we are back in action here, at least partially. I am currently, given all that's gone down over the course of the last week, I've kind of tried to get back to my, as Lissa would say it, getting back to my roots. I'm getting back to my roots. I'm trying to just back off for a second. I'm not streaming in Discord this week and maybe not next week. We shall see. I'm just trying to focus, lock down, and get some stuff out there again because I haven't produced a book in over a week now, which is, unless I'm on vacation, very unlike me. And that's coming up. On October 1st, Jody and I are going away on a anniversary trip. We're going to be going for the better part of a week. We will be back for our show. I think it's October 10th. We'll be back for a Talk to the Beard then. Then our good friend Anna Bird from Germany is flying in on the 12th. She's going to be hanging with us for a few days. Then we are leaving for GRL. Now, I can't remember if we have a show right before that, like that Monday. I think it's 17th. Can't remember if we have a Talk to the Beard or not. We might do a special Talk to the Beard. If we don't, we'll figure it out regardless. We're leaving that Tuesday for GRL. We're going to be going for a week there. Anna is coming with Jody and I, or we're going to drive out there, which is going to be awesome. Then we're going to be back in town, and then it's back to normal life again as we know it. So October is kind of sketchy at best. Anyways, that's what we got going on. Today I'm working on a book that I was supposed to have done last week. Unfortunately, and it is what it is, but Ian Lindsay, it's the Sin Bin 2, it's Soft Hands. I think she's into lotion. I'm not exactly sure. But we're working on that this week, actually today. That should be wrapped up by tomorrow morning. Then we're rolling into Vet Shop Boys 6, I think. We're really far into that series. Vet Shop Boys Book 6 for Tantor and Casey Cox. We're going to knock that one out hopefully starting tomorrow evening, and that'll roll into Wednesday. Then we're just going to keep on trucking. I'm working on a lot of stuff this week. So good stuff to come out. I'll try and get story times up as well. We're out of the YouTube jail, so we're actually allowed to post videos again. I'm excited about that. And of course, we'll have the regular Rambling Gremlin show this coming Thursday. So that's where we're at. Thank you everybody for showing up and having fun. My guest today we've had on before. We've worked on a few books with, and I actually have a couple specific questions for her. I'm going to pull this up before I flip over the screen. Here we go. There it is. I did my show prep. I actually looked her up on the interweb. It's amazing. But anyways, not anymore for me. I give you Morticia Knight. Ta-da! Hello.
Hello. Hey.
Or should I say, is it M.M. Wild? Is that the other name?
Yeah,
The other pen
that's the
name?
other name. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
was looking that up earlier, and it looks very, very cool. Actually, when you type in Morticia Knight, which is what it is today, because for some reason I closed my browser, it actually goes straight to the MM Wild page, which is awesome. So you were doing naughty impreg, paranormal, all that good stuff. You've been doing that for a while. Is that correct?
Yeah, that actually started in 2018. And it's funny because I never hid the fact that that was my other pen name. I didn't like, kind of do dark web kind of thing and hide. Um, and still to this day, people are reading my books and they'll say, wait, you're MM Wild too? I never knew that. So
Yeah.
for authors out there who think readers know every single thing that's going on with them, they truly don't. There's too many of us for the readers to keep track of.
Well, yeah, in my experience, the vast majority of our readers and listeners are not the people that are watching us right now, and the people that follow us on Facebook and actually look at your website. Those are the super fans, and that's like maybe one
Hmm.
tenth of the actual crowd of people that are buying and
Yeah.
listening to these products. I've found that as well.
Hmm.
I always assume people know my life because my whole life is on the internet at this point. And
Right.
no,
Exactly.
And you're working on a gargoyles. I was reading down through here. There's a cool ass looking gargoyle series coming up, Shadow Slayers.
Yes. Actually,
Did
I have the awesome Natasha Snow doing the covers for that right now. So I'm really excited.
I bet. Did you watch the gargoyles cartoon to get prepped for this?
Not to get prepped for it, but I was a big Gargoyles cartoon fan back in the day.
Jody and I were just talking about that. Jonathan Frakes was one of the main voices for that, which he's the dude from
Mhm.
Star Trek, and he was
Yep.
fantastic in it. Um, we
Mhm.
were we were going back and forth discussing different voice actors, which my wife is a super fan of a voice actor that. Well, anyways, it's this little short dude, and for the life of me, I can't remember his name now, but he's like 4'11", and my wife is 6 foot tall. And she went to see him at a convention a couple of years ago. She wanted to meet the guy, and he shows up at a
Right.
Comic-Con convention in town, and she has a picture. And my wife is a very tall woman, and she has this picture, and it's like you can barely see the top of his head. It's like it's like he's like yeah, he's a little short, a
Whoops.
hell of a voice actor. But anyways, how's the new house? Is everything all right?
Oh my God, the new house is amazing. I just sent out a newsletter to reassure everyone that yes, I'm finally moved in. Yes, I'm settled, and now I can start getting caught up on all the stuff that I got behind on. But yeah, it's a whole new atmosphere here. I'm on uh, a third of an acre, very rural, on a creek, just super chill. Can hang out on the deck and write.
Oh
I was
yeah.
in a really toxic environment where I was before. So this is just really, it's helping the creativity for sure.
How do you deal? I've been going through this. I'm looking for advice. I've been going through this recently myself. Not a toxic environment, but how do you deal with just the turmoil of everything happening like that? Are you do you have deadlines with your editors, that sort of thing? You got to keep up on. How do you push through?
Yeah, yeah, actually, you kind of just do the best that you can, and you also have to just cut yourself a break when it gets to be too overwhelming. I mean, for real, since January, um, I've disappointed so many people, and I've felt that weight of, oh man, I set this deadline for myself, or I agreed to this deadline, and I wasn't able to make it happen. I'm such a shitty person. And at a certain point, I had to realize that, there were circumstances beyond my control on several things. For one thing, the bank, when I went to go get my mortgage, it's really difficult to explain to a bank how Amazon works. They kept asking for employment verification. I had to verify that Amazon is my employer, which they aren't. And they, even though I have an LLC, for some reason they weren't, there was this disconnect, and it just drug on and on and on. And I was so stressed out. And it got to the point where, you know what, I can't meet this deadline because I can't even think straight. So I had to delay or cancel pre orders and all this craziness. So, for those of you out there wondering what the hell happened to me this year, that's what happened. And I'm hella sorry. But now that I'm settled in, and it's just like I said, it's so chill, it's so relaxing. And I'm away from the crazy neighbors because, in addition to crazy mortgage requirements and crazy neighbors, it all came in on me. And so it's really just forgiving yourself and saying, hey, you know what? I'm doing the best that I can, and I'll make it up to people and just go from there. I'll tell you something really crazy for those of you out there who are trying to get a home loan on an independent contractor income. The thing that finally made the underwriter approve the loan was my PayHip account, which is, for those who don't know, it's this really tiny little site where you can set up your own store basically, and you can sell direct to people, and they only take like a little 10% cut. And I think maybe 5 people on the planet ever buy anything from there. And it was sort of an answer to people not wanting to use PayPal and being worried that their accounts were going to be suspended from whatever. But I have my books that are wide. I put them on there as a courtesy in case anyone might actually want to purchase them direct. And I never advertise it. rarely advertise it. And as I was grappling with every piece of information that I could possibly come up with to convince Wells Fargo, please give me a loan, I kept saying, isn't money enough? Don't they just, here's my money, here's my tax returns. Isn't this good enough? No, they have to know that you're actually in business. The $7.49 that I made last year through PayHip got my loan approved
No shit.
because, yeah, because there's a picture of me, and there's my website link is attached to it, and people buy direct from me on that site, and it goes into my bank account. So that caused them to approve the loan because they could see that I was in business.
We
Never mind that 90% of my money comes from Amazon, and all that money, the $7.49. So if you ever want to get a loan and you're an independent contractor, make sure you have a site that you sell direct through so that you can prove that you're a business.
I'm gonna have to. We're about to get our house. We went through a complicated thing when we started this business. This was in 2011, I think, 2010, 2011, when I bought a PA
Mhm.
system. We thought we were going to be running sound and lights for bands full time. That's how we started this.
Right.
And
Mhm.
we put all of our eggs in this basket, both of our 401ks. It wasn't that much. It was like 60 or 70 grand worth. That was our life fucking
Mhm.
savings. We were kids and
Right.
everything. And we ended up going bankrupt in the beginning. Just it
Mm.
took about a year and a half. We'd dropped everything we had. We bought all this PA gear and everything else, and we just weren't making that much money, and we couldn't pay our shit back. We go bankrupt, and for our home, it gets kind of complicated. But our home, they wouldn't allow us to re-sign. The bank wouldn't allow us to
Hmm.
re-sign on our home. But they also said, if you continue paying the mortgage, the deed is still in your name. You will own the house eventually. It's kind of a complicated
Right.
setup. So on our credit report, it doesn't actually show up at this point.
Mm.
And if we just wanted to walk away from this house, there's no legal consequences to it at this point. Now, there are advantages and disadvantages to that, but honestly, I kind of want the house back in my name at this point. We've been here for a long time. It'd be nice to be able
Yeah.
to tap that equity for one, and if we want to sell, to be able to do that. So we're in the process now of doing that. And this has been
Mm.
several years in the making of changing the way we report on our taxes and this and that and the other. Um, so this is really good advice for, and maybe somebody else out there is going through the same thing. It's really good advice.
Mhm.
I've been able to get approved for an auto loan for a Jeep. We were able to do that, but even that took some doing. I had to last
Mhm.
3 years, tax returns, all that fun shit. Fine, here you
Yep.
go. This is what we make. That's valid advice. I have a website. I have not updated it as recently as you have updated yours. I'm looking at yours, and you're actually pretty on top of it. You have the last audio book that we did up here. You've got your current schedule. I've not updated mine since 2020, I think, so I should probably get on that.
Ooh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely, and, it's funny you said that because that was one of the other things I did is I went in and, I have that one page of upcoming schedule and what's coming. Like, the day before they sent the information to the underwriter, I went in there and I dated it, like, March 3rd, 2022, and then I put down all the stuff I was gonna be doing and links to the Amazon page. I just went nuts in there. So, just whatever you can do to support the fact that you're in business, you're legit, you know, because when I said to the consultant, I said, "Well, doesn't the money in my bank account and what I'm reporting on my tax returns, I mean, it's money. What more do they want?" He said, "They want to know that you're not laundering it, that you're not a drug dealer, that you're not like, where did this money come from?"
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So that little stamp on your bank report that says Amazon, that's not that's
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 not
not
good enough.
wow.
No,
It's something I didn't
no,
even think
not
of.
unless Amazon said that they were employing me, which, as we all know, is never going to happen.
Exactly. That's not the case. I
Hmm.
I've gotten so with Amazon, you never know. You never know selling books like you do, like what your royalties are going to be. Is that what authors call it when it comes in from
Yeah.
KU royalty payments?
Hmm. Yep.
You
Hmm.
never really know. So that's even going to get an auto loan. I was showing my income, and a good portion of my income comes from royalty as well, from audiobook royalties that I've done. And I'm showing him this, and one month it would be triple what the next month would be, and it
Yeah.
just kind of depends on what you've released, what's out, what's hot right now. That was a very
Mm-hmm.
bad thing. Publishers are actually what saved me in that regard because I also work for publishers, and that's a fairly
Oh,
steady
good.
source of
Yeah.
income.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're getting into the new house, you talked about forgiveness of yourself, which is, I think you made a like hit it right on the head, a valid point because the guilt factor is, to be honest, over the last I don't know, last I think it was Thursday and especially Friday, guilt is what kept me out of my booth. I just felt
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed and guilty that I wasn't fulfilling my obligations, and not only to my clients, but also the people that my friends that watch me every day, and the people that don't know me but that are fans. This guilt that
Mm-hmm.
builds up. With the new house, are you able now at this point to just kick back, relax? Have you gotten back into the writing process? Is it just like,
Oh,
oh my
yeah.
God, weight of the world? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have not put out a newly written Morticia Knight book since January. And on Friday, I put the first one out since January, and it was 100% written in this house. So it's like just a huge weight has been lifted. And like I said, the environment where I was living was super toxic. So that alone, you take that away, you take away the weird mortgage loan, the panic to get in before the interest rates went back up, having to make a decision about, I mean, this house is 120 years old, so it needs a little TLC. So
Mm-hmm.
having to make those decisions and having people come in and having people not come in even though they promised they were going to be here. So just all that stuff has finally just kind of, the dust has settled. I can look out at my creek. I can hear it running. I'm used to the deer at midnight. They're not Yetis coming to get me because it's black silhouettes moving past my window. It's not
How
Sasquatch.
was the were the prices astronomical for housing out there, or were
Oh
they seem
yeah.
reasonable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in Oregon on the West Coast. So pretty much anything on the West Coast at this point, East Coast, West Coast, is just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I got lucky because this house, like I said, it's 120 years old. It was owned by a total freak of nature. Um, have you ever done the Disneyland Find the Hidden Mickeys? When you
I've
go
never
to
been to Disneyland.
Disneyland? Okay,
Mm.
so when you go to Disneyland, there on the rides at different points, there are these Mickey Mouse heads, just the ears and the face
Mm-hmm.
and just the silhouette. And like if you go on Pirates of the Caribbean, you can see a hidden Mickey in the pile of treasure. And they give you a little card and you check off where you find all the hidden Mickeys, and then I think you get a mug or something stupid. So but this house is like find the hidden Mickeys. Only I'm finding the weird shit that the guy who lived here put all over the place. Like, okay, on the big oak tree down by the creek, he nailed his expired credit card to the trunk. Um, in the back of one of the handmade closets that he did, he painted Mike's best closet ever with a peace sign. If you look up when you're coming down the stairs, there's the painting of the Kool-Aid face, not the whole Kool-Aid thing, but just the face. There's these giant, we loved finding the things that are in the trees because, of course, I'm surrounded by trees. And there's this giant, like, Christmas ornament, like the glass
Mm-hmm.
ball, and it swings back and forth in the wind. That's how we finally noticed it because you could see this shiny things. It's just, I mean, this guy, when I was out on the yard and I turned around and you could see he had painted in this kind of like see through paint his name. He has his name everywhere. But it's like we could invent a drinking game to this. Like I'm having a party this coming Saturday, and I think, it's going to be one of those things. How many imprints of Mike Davis can you find all over this house? It's
we
just.
we ran into that too. Our house was built in 1906, and we ran into quite a
Mm,
few different things. One was The studio that I'm sitting in used to be a one-car garage. The previous owners had bought it in the 80s. They built an addition on top of it, which is fine. But the lower part of the garage, it was still an old garage door out there when we first bought it, and just cinder block garage.
Oh,
Painted
wow.
in black was, I think, God, Jody's going to correct me. I'm pretty sure it was Walt. The name Walt in black, painted just with a paintbrush on one wall, maybe about like this big kind of thing.
Hmm.
So we were living here perhaps 6 months, 8 months. The story of the house goes there was a family that had lived in it since it was origin, 1906, until the 80s. Like the old
Oh,
woman that still
wow.
lived here, they didn't even have running water when the owners purchased it in the 80s. We still have the original
Wow.
outhouse. The
Jeez.
family that lived in for the 80s until we bought it in 2001 or 2002. Anyway, they remodeled a lot. So we're not here 6 months, and someone shows up. This was back when people weren't carrying cell phones around everywhere. Knock on the door.
Hmm.
Somebody has broken down in front of our house. And it turns out it is a guy that grew up here in the 60s. Um,
Oh my God.
and he's like, "Do you mind if I look around after I use your phone?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And there's a couple oddities and that sort of thing about the house. We have very large stairs. There's a couple weird things like that. But then he mentions
Hmm.
the black Walt painted in the old garage, and he says, "Clyde." Thank you, Jody. It was Clyde. Thank you very much. My wife commented on it. I knew I was going to get it wrong. There was something to the effect of, "Don't ever paint over that. It would be bad luck." Um, so we did not for a long time for fear because we're
Right.
superstitious. We've watched the ghost shows and we're like, we don't. So finally,
Hmm.
we did paint over it, but we took a picture of it. We got a picture of it. We can hang on the wall there just so Clyde doesn't freak out and kill us or something.
Right, right.
Um, we've got those things going on. Do you have any?
Yeah.
Does it seem haunted in any fashion? Is there any fun things like that going on in this old house?
It's funny because I've dealt with a lot of haunted locations. I've lived in a lot of haunted locations before. And this one, I kept expecting, oh, for sure that's going to happen here because you can see just, like the anomaly, the little oddities to the house because different people have, like this doorway does not match that doorway. So obviously somebody put this one in at a different time. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think, the ceilings, you can see where this wasn't like that. They've built onto it. So a lot of things like that. And, I believe that when you do that, you kind of disturb things. Nothing.
Good.
Just nothing.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good news.
It's,
We were
yeah.
thinking about it and slightly worried about it. We just had you had mentioned you did a lot of remodeling on this prior to moving in. Is that correct? You had a lot of. We just had
Not
a
a
sun
lot,
porch.
but I did. I actually, I'm still in the process of it, but yeah, like, things like there was a rotten porch attached to the
Mm-hmm.
kitchen and they had closed it off. Nobody could walk on it. And my buddy came up from California. He just ripped that thing right off and rebuilt a new one in a day, so things
Nice.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The remodeling thing makes it complicated too. I feel like I've been off kilter since July when we had a sunroom that was built by the owner from the 80s, and he was a hell of a trim guy. His trim work was amazing, but nothing else
Hmm.
was solid at all that he did on the place. And that
Yep.
was one of them. The sun porch had been built in the 80s, and it was like there were gaps in the windows like 2.5 or 3 inches
Oh,
large. It
wow.
was water was
Hmm.
pouring into it. It was bad. Our contractor buddy, he's a buddy of mine from the program. He was over one day and he was installing a dog door for us, and we'd been talking for several years. We got to tear this down and rebuild it. And he took one side of the room and shook it like this, shook the whole room. We got to do something about this. And
Yeah.
they happened to have an
You think?
opening. But that's what threw us off, I think, from July on, because we had remodelers here for 10 or 12 days. And then Jody and I did the
Yeah.
floor ourselves. And then the next thing you know, it's just crazy town. And it threw me
Yeah.
off not only just my schedule, but also creatively. Because then every time I got in the booth, I was in a hurry, and I wasn't putting out
Yeah.
shit,
Yeah.
but when you're in a hurry, you just do not do your best work. You're not
Right.
relaxed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, you're right. It started with looking for a house and into that panic of trying to get in before the interest rates went up and there's only like 5 houses for sale within a 100-mile radius because, rural areas. It was bad enough anyway, but then being in a rural area. And then, getting ready to move, the whole pressure of the mortgage, and then this place needs a lot of work, so we got to have people. I have had people coming in and out of here constantly. There was just no way. There
Mm-hmm.
was just no way to keep up with everything. And I did end up canceling one book 100%. I don't even have any plans to do anything with it yet, because it was an idea that I'd had originally. I was trying to make it part of a multi-author series, Destination Daddies, which is I work with this group of people. We do the Naughty or Nice one as well. Great group of authors, fun series, supposed to be lighthearted and fluffy. And I was basically taking a really angsty idea that I had and trying to fit this fun, fluffy vacation sort of read. And I went, you know what? I don't have time to do this justice. It's it's just going to be a hot mess. And rather than have people be disappointed and ruin it, because sometimes when people are reading these multi-author series, they'll hit a couple of clinkers and then they'll give up on the rest of the books. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
fair to the rest of the authors either. So I just said, you know what? I'm just going to pull it, and someday maybe I'll go back to this, depressing, angsty story. But today is not that day. This year is not that year.
It's
But
understandable.
yeah,
Well, you have to
yeah.
get back to your core. That's kind of what I'm working on
Hmm.
right now. Is for a little while there, I think I was starting because I was in the middle of all that, and you were too, just in the middle of just pandemonium. Nothing is normal. There's not a normal day. You don't wake up and have. And
Hmm.
I would even tell some of my friends I text with every morning, "Today's going to be a normal day." Never. It just hasn't happened since July.
Never.
Never. And I started to think about it. You ever here's a you ever just get bored with something that you're writing, and it might be a great
Oh yeah.
concept and it might be well done, you're doing a good job on it, but you just get fucking bored and you start to think,
Hmm.
I've done, I don't know, how many books do you think you've written now? 20, 30, 40, 400? What have you done?
It's if you include short stories, it's over 70.
Yeah, so at some point you get that, just, I'm bored. This is
Hmm.
not the overcoming of that for me has been, I actually stepped back for a second and I started to think, what did I really enjoy about this? What because
Yes.
especially in the beginning of my career, I worked on some shit. I worked on some books that nobody's ever going to fucking read. Nobody's going to listen. They were just not very good fucking books. But I
Right.
always found a way to have fun and enjoy myself and be hyper focused. If I'm hyper focused, you can't keep me off a task. I just keep plowing away. I love it. And I had to kind of get back to that
Hmm.
core. What if you'd had to just round it down to one thing? What is that the one thing that just has kept you motivated as an author? What do you really love the most?
What I really love the most is just being able to, well, I don't know if there's one thing. There's probably two things. I'm a very character driven writer. So even more so than plot. And so I've always loved the chemistry between the characters. And recently I've started allowing myself to really explore more of the plot, but more of the settings. What I really loved about writing the latest one I did, it's a mafia romance, my first house book, uh, is that I was able to explore some of the things that I personally enjoy. So I think taking more of the things that I personally enjoy. One of the things I used to do, and I totally got away from this at one point, when I was very first putting out my first books, is I used to include a line from one of my favorite movies in the book somewhere. So it was almost like a hidden Mickey.
Mm-hmm.
And once in a while, a reader would go, "Oh, I recognize that." And just kind of a fun thing for me to do because I'm a big movie buff. And I got away from that, so that it is finding those things that are fun. And so for me, like with this latest one, there was some aspects of it that I enjoy. I love old shit. I just love antiquities, and I love, like it's got the lost city of Atlantis and these old legends, and I love that kind of stuff. So I included something like that to keep me interested. And
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, the reader's interested, that that's something that they could enjoy as well. So
I love
rather
that.
than just focusing on the characters' chemistry, giving them things to do and places to go and adventures to have that are the same kinds of things that I would like to do in my own
Yeah,
life.
and with this genre, it's there's a formula to it, and we all know the formula, and we all know at the end of the day, these two guys are going to get together and fuck and live happily
Yeah.
ever after, and all that. There's a formula to it, and if you just look
Mhm.
at the surface, I think if you forget about the things that brought you to love the genre and love your art form in the first place, it becomes very easy to just. I think the word jaded would probably be appropriate.
Mhm.
Now I'm only talking for myself here, but that's how I was feeling for a second. I wasn't putting out shit work. I was doing my job and I was doing it well. But just at the end of the day, not I guess I couldn't get out of the booth fast enough at times, you know, and really
Yeah.
couldn't get
Yeah.
into the booth and stick for a long period of time. I've really been thinking about that. Like, what do I really love about this gig? Because I love it. It's just you kind of lose
Mhm.
sight of that sometimes. Um, and yeah, for me, it's
You have
the
to, yeah, what you said about going back and remembering what first got you excited about this and what first interested you. I think that's a huge part of it as well because I'll stop sometimes and I'll think, okay, you remember when you were 12 years old and this is all you cared about was being a published writer and you were so into it and you were that kid, that weirdo kid sitting in the corner scribbling away in your little notebook, story ideas and all this stuff. And then I got distracted by rock and roll, which we've gone into before. But when I finally got back into wanting that so badly, and then I would stay up all night. I would sometimes be up for 36 hours because I had a deadline. I was with a publisher at the time. I had a deadline to meet with that publisher, but I also had a full time job managing a clothing store.
Mhm.
So I was working 50 hours a week as a manager, plus putting out a book every 6 weeks. I was getting no sleep. But I was driven. And so I have to stop and think, okay, you went through all that shit. You almost destroyed your health so that you could become a full time writer. And now you're cranky about it. What the hell?
hmm It's
This is
amazing
what
how
you
quickly.
wanted.
It's amazing how quickly you get to that point, though. I know exactly how. I came from. I was working I was a collection agent at a law firm, and I worked.
Mm,
I guess it was 40 hours a week there, and then another 40 hours a weekend as a sound engineer and as a musician to work my way out of having to work at the law firm. And I really like sound engineering and I love playing music. Ended up being, I made more money as a sound engineer, so I was at for quite a while. And then the audiobooks started to kick in, and suddenly I just adored this process. And
mhm,
it's so easy to forget that. For me, that storytelling element, being able to wrap somebody up from the word go. Within one paragraph, I can catch your interest. And within one paragraph, you're listening and relaxing. Going from that point, then telling a good story from beginning to end, and being able to play through a character's arc. When I know at the end of a book, what I know that I've played that character arc, not only in the way that the author has written it, but also in a way that is John, is me. It has my
mhm.
fingerprint on it a little bit. I am that character. That
Right.
feeling just, it's kind of hard to describe, but that feeling of storytelling just, it jazzes me to no end. And I get absolutely entranced by the process. That's why I
Mhm.
started to peel away the layers in the last week. I peeled away Discord for a second. I peeled away some videos for a second, just like, let me just focus right on this just for a second and get that back again. By the way, everybody's talking
Yeah.
about, well, not, I guess I expected this from Melissa Gramling. As soon as you said mafia, she went, "Ooh, mafia. Can you tell me more about your mafia book, please?"
Yeah. Well, it's part of the Ruthless Daddies series, which is, again, a multi-author collaboration. The wonderful Skylar Snow has put this together. She's known for writing a lot of darker romance, and she invited me to be a part of it. And so it's all Mafia Daddies. Each book is a total standalone. We all, picked our own city and we picked our own invented mafia family, and so mine was the last in the series because I asked for a delay because of all the things we talked about. And mine's called Brutal. And it, like I said, there's the lost city of Atlantis, and there's, they go all over the world. They go to Dubai and Malta and Costa Rica. So it's just a lot of, enemies to lovers, opposites attract, lots of bloody violence, lots of hot, steamy love. So all those things all wrapped up together.
That's awesome. And yeah, that sounds exactly like something Alyssa Grambling will absolutely enjoy.
Well, there you
Yeah, she actually said she read Ashlyn Mills' book from that series, and it was dark, and she
go.
loved it.
Okay.
We love Ashlyn as well. She's fantastic.
Right on. Yeah.
So we know what you're working on now. What do you have any spare time at this point now that you're chilling out? Are you getting back to maybe singing a little bit, playing a little bit, or what else are you doing with your time?
Uh, yeah, not that so much. I want to start going out and just going places and doing more. It's just I've spent so much time just, like you said, I've been in my own booth of just, working, and the only other thing I had time for was this house. But I just want to really enjoy the house. I want to be able to enjoy my deck, and I've made a promise to myself. One of my author friends, she said, you need to start doing this, of taking that at least one day a week where there's nothing about books or writing unless I'm reading somebody else's book that I have been wanting to read for a long time, or going out thrift shopping or antiquing with my sister, or hanging out with my daughters, whatever it is, just doing something that doesn't involve being an author.
We went to the Renaissance Festival yesterday. There's a really
Nice.
Yeah, there's a good one in Ohio, and we go every year. It's we got married there 20 years ago. It's a whole thing of ours. We have different outfits and stuff. So um, this might so Jody is my wife is very attractive, and when you go to the Renaissance Festival, women have a tendency when they wear a dress, they'll wear a dress that kind of poops them up a little bit. That's kind of
Oh
what you do.
yeah, yeah,
That's
totally.
what you
That's
have to do.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we had both observed as we're walking around. We're pretty chill these days. I don't party or anything anymore, so we're walking around and sitting there watching shows. And we observed this one couple walking by. It's a younger couple, and the girl is just decked to the nines in this gorgeous pirate outfit, and she's a very attractive girl, maybe 25,
Cool.
26 years old. We observed it,
Hmm.
both of her like, man, she looks amazing. She looks really good. As we're about to leave the fair, these kids approach. I say kids, they're adults, but a lot younger than us,
Right.
and they actually stop us to compliment Jody and her amazing outfit. And one of them actually says, I believe the words were, "Those are bangin'," and I think she was referring to my wife's. And they were, by the way, they looked amazing. But so we stop and chill for a second with this couple, and we're hanging out and relaxing. Now, there's this running joke from a year or two back where it was implied that I was a swinger, and it's because I had this pineapple joke that I was doing, and I put it on my business cards. Well, we are not, in fact, swingers at all, and everybody knows this. But at one point, we realized this couple is, I'm pretty sure. And not only that, but they're both of their pupils, they were on ecstasy. I'm about 99%. Their pupils are like
Yeah.
just out of this freaking world. At one point, I realized, uh-oh, like, uh-oh, this could be a problem. We're standing here talking. Luckily, Jody and I are making signals at each other. We were able to get away. But we thought we were going to be, we would still be at the Ren Fair, I guess, at this point. If it,
Right.
it was an experience. There's us going out. It was a lot of fun, though.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the Ren Fair is a fun memory for me, because the first one I went to, I was with this very hippie method actress, teacher. She was my drama teacher, and I think I was maybe 10 years old. And she took us all to the Ren Fair, and this is like during the kind of a free love period of time. It was the 70s, whatever. And I saw my first eggplant there, and guys running around in tights and a shirt, but absolutely nothing else underneath. Saw my first live sex show in a tent. I was just like, whoa,
Yeah,
whoa.
I have
Did not
heard.
share with my parents anything that
No, I
happened.
bet not. I've heard that afterwards, like the Ren Fair crowd, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard that afterwards, I have friends that have worked at the Renaissance Festival, and afterwards, it's kind of that kind of party. People are drinking, people are having a
Mhm.
lot of fun. They're using everything you can imagine, and there's a lot of open, free love going on,
Mhm.
which made me. That's what I realized when we were getting into yesterday. I'm getting a little too old for this. I'm just maybe we're gonna make our exit here. Thank you so
Right.
much for coming on. You've been a ball,
Yeah.
as always. And we do have, as I was telling you prior to, I think that we're going to be getting the fourth Command and Care book out here in the course of the next couple of weeks before we go on vacation, which would be
Nice.
fantastic. And
Yep.
then are there four in that series? Is that what there are right now?
There's actually 6, so yeah,
Six? We got a
be
ways to go then.
prepared. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Well,
we
hopefully we
still
can get
got
them
more coming up.
wrapped by the end of the year, I think. I know I missed some comments. So if you could jump in and gaze through those, that'd be appreciated. This will be
Yeah,
up
I
on
will. Yeah.
YouTube, and I'll send you the link. And thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Well, the
Oh,
easy
thank you,
part.
John.
All you have to do is wave at the camera and say bye. It's easy.
Bye. See ya.